provided to any interested parties. Please notify the municipal clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at mayor and council meeting. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your left. Please silence all cell phones and pagers, and I remind you and the council, anyone wishing to address the council and the council, please speak into the microphones. Roll call, please.
Councilmember DeGeis.
Here.
Councilman Frank.
Here.
Councilman Kelly.
Here.
Councilwoman Lewis.
Here.
Councilman Myerson.
Here.
Councilman Pizzella.
Here.
Okay, I need a motion for approval of minutes of December 3rd. Oh, first, the presentation to Mark Durst will be done on February 4th. Welcome. So we will not obviously be doing that tonight. Motion for approval of minutes for December 3rd, 2013, December 10th, 2013, regular and closed session meetings, December 30th, regular and closed session meetings. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Borough engineer is not here. I'm going to move right down to correspondence. A letter from Christopher Conti requesting permission for the Eagle Scout project at the firehouse. Motion to receive, file, and approve, please.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion? The gentleman is here who's doing the Eagle Scout project. If you have any questions, it's going to be at the Hillsdale Firehouse. It's very, he's going to be painting the bays, which is, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you're on board. Thank you. Just coordinate everything with the fire chief and Bill Franklin, the borough DPW superintendent, buildings and grounds and all that, so that, you know, at your convenience, their convenience, and whatever. Thank you. Letter from the Borough of Westwood dated January 13th to the State DEP, RE Pascack Valley Waterway Report. Motion to receive and file.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Letter from the Hillsdale Volunteer Fire Department dated January 15 requesting permission to use to us
Oh, sorry to
the
use.
west parking lot for an
To
annual
us.
carnival May 4th, 2014 through May 11th. Motion to receive, file, and approve. Sue, do we have all the, everything we need from them for this? Okay. Motion to receive, file, and approve.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Do you want to do a roll call because two have to abstain, or can I do all in favor and just have them not vote? Do a roll call?
Yeah, do roll call.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lewis.
Yes.
Councilmember Myerson.
Yes.
Councilmember Pizzella.
Yes.
Councilmember DeGeis.
Abstain.
Councilmember Frank.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Abstain.
Okay, letter from Memory Care Living dated January 10th, 2014 regarding a first response call. Motion to receive and file.
A motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Can we have this forwarded to the fire chief? Thank you.
You bet. I'm under the impression it went to the fire chief already, but just in case. Chris, can you make sure the fire chief gets a copy of this letter? Thank you. Letter from the American Cancer Society dated December 17th, informing the date for the annual George Washington Bridge Challenge, Sunday, June 8th. Motion to receipt and file.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Letter from the Rover and Clover 5K Committee requesting permission to hold annual 5K run walk on Sunday, March 16th, 2014. Motion to receive, file, and approve.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Sue, do we have all the necessary and the chief signed off on it?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Letter from ISO dated December 23rd, 2013 regarding recent public protection classification survey for fire suppression service. Motion to receive and file.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
I don't think you can, this is fire.
Yeah, but I think this is more.
I don't know.
It's
Doesn't matter.
insurance, so
Someone else can do
I
it.
don't know.
That's all right? Yeah, someone else,
No
motion
second.
please.
All motion.
And a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? For the public reason that I'm doing that is Councilman Kelly and Councilman DeGeis and myself are members of the fire department, so for openness in government, we do not get involved in votes on anything pertaining to fire. Okay, before I get into discussions, Captain, do you want to address us so you don't have to hang around, but you're more than welcome to hang around?
John Beatty, 64 Westdale Ave. Calling to give you guys kind of a state of the ambulance for the past year, kind of a summary of what we've done. In the year 2013, there were 1,077 requests handled by Hillsdale Police Department for an ambulance. Of those 1,077 requests, 840 of them were handled by Hillsdale Ambulance ourselves. That means 237 were handled via mutual aid coming into our town. Of those 840 calls that we answered, 371 of those calls were to mutual aid towns to help them out when they needed it, and they came back to help us when we needed it most. Of our 1,077 calls, 413 were medical emergencies, 188 traumas, 86 motor vehicle accidents, 95 patients refused medical assistance, 34 were ETOH, ATRA, or intoxicated, 51 were psych behavior calls, 134 qualified as simple transportations, 16 fire standbys, 5 lift assists, no births this year, unfortunately, 2 defib calls that were unsuccessful. Unfortunately, 12 were DOA, or dead on arrival, and we were canceled 41 times by the police department. ALS interacted with us a total of 418 times between all 1,077 calls, so they definitely help out when needed. And our ambulance traveled just shy of 10,000 miles this past year. With the 840 calls handled by our ambulance corps, 1,985 man-hours were spent on the ambulance on calls, 210 man-hours were spent at meetings, 363 man-hours at drills and training, for a total of 2,558 hours that our members spent away from their families. And to kind of point out where our corps is going from 2012 to now in 2013 and moving into 2014, we were able to handle 150 more calls by ourselves than we did the previous year. So we kind of stepped up our coverage. We brought in about 12 new members this past year, and really pushed hard to get some people from other towns to split their time and help out when needed. We actually, myself and EMT Kim Held in the back tonight, we attended the Bergen County EMS Training Center's graduation for the fall. We had 3 new EMTs graduate this evening. 2 are cadets, and 1 is going to be a full member. And we actually have 5 members enrolled for the spring EMT course at this time, 3 cadets and 2 adult members. So that's where we stand compared to in the past.
Well, obviously, it's an extremely impressive report, and you people do an extraordinary service for the residents of Hillsdale, but the Pascack Valley and sometimes other areas. I thank you and the men and women of your team, and it is a very, very great group of people. Thank you. That's the only thing I can say. And at your dinner, I'll say the same thing to you and your members, but please pass on behalf of me, and I'm sure other council people are going to say similar things. Thanks.
You're welcome.
It's just a great, great service.
Glad to help.
Anybody else want to say
Yeah,
anything?
Cap, you know my feeling about what you guys do, but just for anybody who's here or anybody who's watching, understand that volunteer ambulance corps throughout the area they're becoming extinct. They're going to paid services. They're doing all kinds of things to try and get this ambulances to take care of the residents. In Hillsdale, they're going the opposite direction. They're moving forward. They're getting more members. They're getting more active, which is not the norm for the area right now. So what the officers and the captain have done to turn this around, if you saw it from the emergency services side, you understand what a phenomenal job they've done. And Cap, thanks, keep it up, please.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just as a reminder, since he was up there and Lynn called me and said I had to do this, in your packets, ladies and gentlemen, is your invitation to their annual dinner. Please RSVP so they know who's coming. For the sake of the public, that some people don't understand this, the ambulance corps relies 100% pretty much on the donations and help from the public. The ambulance corps receives a stipend from the town, which is pretty minuscule compared to the overall spending and needs of the ambulance. And, that's important for you to know. Your donations to the ambulance corps, and I think I just recently saw an envelope come to my house. If we want to continue with a free volunteer ambulance corps, please help them, because they pay for the blankets, they pay for the Band-Aid, they pay for the air, everything they use, they pay for. The town gives them a little money and helps with the insurance. So, and they own that building, they maintain it, they eat it. I can go on and on, so thank you. And if you haven't given, please give. Okay, moving on. Chief, you want to talk now, or you want to wait till after the discussions and everything? Okay. Moving along, we get to discussions. The first discussion is interim CFO, Councilman DeGeis.
Mayor, I asked because of conflict of scheduling, we couldn't get together with the personnel committee. That to be carried to the next meeting.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Why is the finance committee not involved in any interview with a potential CFO?
I was told through the finance chairman it should go to the personnel committee first to see if how they feel, and then move to the finance committee next.
Yeah, this was discussed at the last meeting, if I recall, that procedure by which that we would try to get an interim CFO, and the first committee would be the personnel committee. Then it would go to the finance committee, unless you think it should go to the finance committee first, then to the personnel.
I think
committee.
it's backwards.
One of the things I think the finance committee has to let the personnel committee know is what kind of dollars or what range of dollars you think will be available to fill this position. I think anyone that interviews for a position, if I were interviewing, I would ask what the salary is.
Have we advertised this position anywhere?
What?
Have we advertised the position being open?
This isn't to fill a permanent CFO position. This is for an interim to get us so we can go ahead and advertise for what the wishes of the council are for part-time CFO, full-time CFO, whatever. This is for an interim, so we have somebody in place, as you know.
Well, when will council have that discussion about what our needs are?
Well, I think the committees have to, however you want to go through, I think it has to go through the two committees first. You want to start with finance? I was going off the lead of Councilman Meyerson that it had to go to personnel first. You want to go to finance first? You can go to finance first. I don't know.
Well, what I said last time, it's got to go through both committees, personnel and finance. I don't think we made it clear as to which committee to go first. I was under the impression it was going to be personnel committee, which is the mayor. Who's on the committee? Yeah.
I'm confused, though. Are you talking about interviewing someone, or are you talking about the process by which you're going to go ahead? I think I was confused as to what Councilman DeGeis was saying. I don't think you're interviewing anybody. You're just discussing the process by which you're going to attempt to find an interim.
We have to in two different committee levels. One, we have to talk about the finance end of it, and B, the second part is we have to talk about a candidate for the interim part.
Right, but you don't have anyone that you're interviewing, is that?
We have somebody that we want to interview through, was vetted through our auditors.
I was asked to come to a meeting tonight at 4:15 that was pulled to interview.
Correct.
Oh, I wasn't aware that we had people we were.
I found out about that the other day.
My only concern is, and I guess maybe things have changed, I know things have changed quite a bit. Last time we filled a position, we spent some time with the department heads, and we looked at what our needs were, and we had a problem with a part-time CFO. We needed a CFO and a borough administrator here all the time.
This is
And,
not for your permanent replacement. This is for the end. We need somebody basically starting the first couple days of February, the first week of February. This is not for your permanent solution. I think is going to take more time than a month, or it might even take 60 days to do that. Obviously, we want to post it. We want to talk to the department heads. We want to get recommendations. That process is going to take longer than appointing an intern to get us through to the next step.
Well, it just seems to me that should be something the entire council should be discussing, and whether we do it in closed or whatever, is to what is the plan, who's going to do what, and who's going to do first, and who's going to do it second. And this is the first I've heard about it, is seeing it on the agenda here.
That's why I put it on there, so everybody can have a voice. And
Well, I believe that the finance committee should create a basic specification for what we're looking for in that job, both from an interim standpoint and a permanent standpoint.
At least from a standpoint of how much we can afford. I mean, don't you agree? I mean, to know how much we actually have to pay someone in the interim.
Well, it clearly has to go through both committees, and the personnel committee is not going to be hiring anybody. But if there are people out there for an interim position, and we're talking about a temporary interim position on a part-time basis to get us over the hump until we find what our plan is with respect to a full-time position. I see no reason why, if there are people out there available, to come and to talk to the personnel committee and to discuss with them what their salary requirements are, to give us some guidelines as to what it is that they will be looking for, so we can consider it at the finance committee. I don't want to get into a long discussion as to what comes first, the chicken or the egg. But if I'm not part of this personnel committee, or don't know that Mr. Lurch has recommended anybody, but apparently Mr. DeGeis is, and I see no reason why the personnel committee can't discuss it, and to discuss what it is that this person will be looking for, so we can get some idea of what's out there.
We're talking about probably one of the most important positions in the borough.
Yeah,
And I
but
guess it would
what
be
you're
nice-
suggesting is the finance committee before the personnel committee.
No, I'm suggesting that we have an idea of what we're looking for. Do they have to be certified as a CFMO? What kind of experience are you going to look for? And at least, in all probability, you've considered those things, but it would be nice if we knew it.
Well, I don't know why you would say that. I mean, I haven't considered those things. I know those in my own mind. I've considered these things are important to have somebody with the proper credentials. And I don't know the person or people upon which that would be preparing at this point before the personnel committee, but I just assumed the personnel committee would be discussing exactly what is necessary for an interim CFO. I thought that was a personnel issue. As far as the finance committee is concerned, when we see what it is their salary requirements are, it goes to the finance committee to determine whether or not it's within our budgetary, requirements.
so we don't beat this up any more than we already have. Why don't we let it go to the Why don't we let it go to the personnel committee next? We can try to set up a meeting next week. Let's see what the requirements are as far as salary, what people are looking for, and then as soon as they know, have the personnel committee contact the chairman of the finance committee and call a finance meeting.
And then we can make a recommendation to the council.
Correct, and the whole council can discuss it. They'll know who, when, where, what.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, second one, Insurance Coverage Association and Environmental Commission members.
Yeah, I
Lance?
just wanted to report back that I did speak with Brian Erlinson regarding the coverage of the environmental commission members, and he basically told me that they are covered by insurance to the extent that the municipality is covered. He's going to get back to me on the quasi-associations, quasi-entities, and he's going to provide me with a written opinion from Jeff.
One of the things that you could help me with, I had been in correspondence with Sue. The Environmental Commission kind of heads up the scout cleanup. Well, it's not really a scout cleanup as much as the kids of Hillsdale cleanup. And there's on the 26th of April, the state is doing their annual cleanup. And last year, we couldn't participate in that cleanup because of the fishing contest, and I can't find out when the fishing contest is. Okay.
Right.
So I'm working on that with them. The second thing the Environmental Commission is looking at, every year the Beehive, which is a natural beauty salon on Broadway, does that open house that it's in conjunction with the environmental, whatever day that is. They're asking to do it downtown, and I said that if they tried to do it, by the time they get done with insurance and everything and getting approvals, because we don't normally approve that, it should go through the Environmental Commission. I spoke to Meredith, and I spoke, so I'm throwing that at you too. What they want to do is hold it in Veterans Park, which is not a problem, but some of the vendors that come to this are for-profit vendors, and I don't know what the legal ramifications of it is, but at my point, the art in the park program, they sell their art too, so I don't think there's a difference.
Okay, I can
All
find
right.
out. Yeah, I was going to, they had asked me to bring that up with you. They had said that Jonathan explained to them last year that whoever gets on the calendar first.
Yeah, but the problem with the fishing contest is the fishing contest ties in with the state stocking of that
Yes.
stream. So it's not as simple as if the art in the park and the Beehive wanted, or the Environmental Commission wanted to do something in Veterans Park, yes, first one in is the first one that
Right.
gets it. This is a little different.
Okay. So Sue, you'll let me know about the fishing, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Larry? Just leave it on.
It goes, I don't know what it does. I have a question about insurance. I think Chris is the insurance liaison. Does every insurance question discussed with Councilwoman Lewis? Or do we just, if the insurance involves a particular commission like REC, it just goes through REC and we don't even talk to our insurance liaison? How does this work?
No, I mean, I could actually work through Councilwoman Lewis. What I did was, originally I was working on it with the Environmental Commission because of a forestry grant program that they were looking into, and they were told that they were not covered. So they were concerned about that. And so when I sent my question to the insurance, I had sent it to Jonathan to look into, but Jonathan had then forwarded my my email to Brian Erlinson, and then Brian Erlinson responded back. So I had also included the associations in my question because of the agreements I was doing prior to the reorg. But I can include Council. I can do that too.
Well, okay.
Just so you know, I would have had the answers for you with that.
Okay.
And it would have just saved you some time, and you would have gotten it sooner.
Okay.
That's the main reason, because I used to do this, so I'm familiar with it, and I've already spoken to Brian previously to understand what our coverages are, who it covers, just because I know it has been something that's been brought up to mutual councils before about who's covered, what's their coverage. There's different policies, whether it's the general liability versus the accident and all that. So more to save time and get the answers, and I know Brian's very good about getting back to us.
Yeah.
But I did have that information if you had needed it.
Okay. Why don't I copy you on the correspondence that I had sent to Brian prior to the reorg, and then we'll pursue that. Thanks.
I would just like to remind all the council people, if you would please, if you're going to reach out to the professionals, go through the administrator to make sure that we're not duplicating, because we do get charged when you talk to the professionals, not insurance.
Right.
But when you talk to Eric or something, and I don't feel like, 14 people calling Eric if it's already been handled. So try and, let the administrator know, what you're trying to find out, and then in this case, Sue will say probably, okay, you can call, as long as she knows.
Sue, you're copied on my stuff with
Yeah,
Brian.
no, you brought it up at a meeting, actually.
Yeah, it was before reorg, and I wasn't aware that Councilwoman Lewis was the.
All right.
So I'll just send you with the packet of the other stuff. It'll be in.
Anything else on that from anyone? D'Alessandro update, Frank, you also?
Yeah, I don't, I just, in your packet, you will see an updated version of the garden. It's really not very different from the last one. I think there's just some different plantings. There's a couple of changes, but before I move on, I just want to make sure that you guys, that everyone up here wants me to continue to liaison with the D'Alessandro Foundation on this memorial.
If you wouldn't mind, it is a special committee, and you've been in on it from the beginning, but it's up to you.
Okay. So April 3rd is still the unveiling. The next thing that I really would like to address with them is the maintenance agreement. I think there should be one similar to the fire department's maintenance agreement for the Fireman Memorial in Veterans Park. And then also, there was one word addition in the wording. She just added 1973 after Holy Thursday. I want you to be aware of it before she actually goes on with the language.
Just the only conflicting thing that goes on at the railroad station, and I don't think it'll conflict, is the Garden Club's plant sale, which they do before, I think it's Mother's Day, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll find out if there's a,
So, and that's a Sunday.
okay.
Number 4, GRC decision regarding termination agreements. Doug?
Yeah, this has to do with the confidential termination agreement for our borough administrator. Look, the firing of John DeJoseph's history, and it was political, which is why certain positions have tenure, and I understand that. If you don't have tenure yet, there are certain positions where you can be dismissed at any time. Some positions have tenure, and it takes, I think, 4 years to get it, and then they're protected from changes in political leadership in the town, which is what it's all about. I get it, it's political. When you take control over council, you have the right to do what you want in terms of hiring and firing people who are untenured. And John is gone, and I really appreciate the things that he's done, and I think that over the next year, we're going to start to recognize the things that he did that are going to be hard to duplicate. But unfortunately, the way this happened leaves a lot of questions, and questions people have been asking me, and I think they're questions that the public has a right to know. Somebody actually came up to me and said, oh, I think Hillsdale's been taken over by the Hudson County Democratic machine, based on the way things are happening in secret. I don't know about that, but here are some of the questions that I have and people have relayed to me.
Is this a political speech, or are you?
No, this has to do with there's no campaign. This has to do with the government of our town and what has just happened. Number one is why now? Why did it have to happen now, and right in the middle of the budget? The majority could have removed him at any time for any reason, for political. You started it at the beginning of the year. Why wait until the budget's just ready to go? And why would you give somebody their rice notice, which is like a pink slip, on Christmas Eve? What kind of an organization is that? It's pretty heartless, and it created a lot of chaos. Why did Councilman Kelly insist that Mr. DeJoseph resigned in the paper? He was there on Christmas Eve when John got his notice. Anybody with professional experience knows that a forced resignation is being fired. There's no difference. There's no difference. So, and why do you say he resigned when there was a termination agreement? If you resign, you don't need a termination agreement to resign. You just resign and you go away. So, I mean, it's pretty disturbing what's been going on. Why is the agreement confidential? Why did the Record have to file a request under Oprah to get a copy of this agreement? And I'd like to know what our attorney's plans are in terms of complying. You know, why are these details being hidden? The Record was able to get all the text messages and emails from Christie's entire staff over what they did on the George Washington Bridge. Do we really think that this termination agreement for our borough administrator CFO is going to be able to be maintained in secret? There's a decision by the Government Records Committee that I forwarded to our borough attorney and to our borough clerk that clearly stated that termination agreements, unless they include serious issues like harassment, sexual harassment and such, are public documents. And I'd like to know how that's going to be dealt with. I sure hope that we're not going to spend a lot of money, additional money, over what we've already spent on this whole issue by fighting it. I'm concerned that the council held 2 special meetings, one on December 30th when nobody's in town, everybody's out of town, and that was the day that the termination agreement was adopted. And then on January 10th, there was another one that I wasn't able to make because it was called very quickly, where there was some transfer of funds. So I'm concerned about that. And this really concerned me. On the December 30th meeting, where the termination agreement was brought in, there were just 4 of us here, and the borough attorney handed us each a copy of this agreement that had already been signed and notarized and completed, and gave a very brief overview of what was in it. It's a number of pages. I didn't have a chance to read it. I waited to see if there was going to be a discussion other than his brief review. No one had any questions. We immediately went to open, and it was voted on. I voted no. Nobody read it. It's like, I guess it must be like Obamacare. You have to pass it before you can read it. Or maybe they already knew what was in it, because I knew nothing what was in it. It's just, to me, it's very upsetting. Why during the reorg meeting, when I asked, gee, guys, you've been working on this a whole year, didn't you have a plan as to what you were going to do when John was gone? And unfortunately, Mr. DeGuy said, yeah, we have a plan. And then the mayor reminded him, no, if you had a plan, that's a sunshine law violation because it was done in secret. And that comment was retracted. There are things in the agreement I can't talk about until this issue is resolved that are very specific in nature that required someone on council to be providing decisions to our borough attorney. I don't know who that was. Is that legal? I don't know. How much extra will the taxpayers be paying to get the budget done this year? I think we have the resolution that's $8,000 additional to pay our auditors to help put together the budget this year. And this is on top of whatever else money that's been committed. This is a lot of work. I really feel bad for our borough clerk because a whole lot of stuff has been dumped on her head. And how are we going to take care of the pay for our temporary borough administrator? When we did this 3 years ago, we paid the borough clerk $1,000 a month to help fill in as the temporary borough administrator. What are we going to do to compensate our borough clerk for helping out during this time? And then we already talked about what we're going to do with the CFO. My belief is a part-time CFO puts a burden on our staff because you can't get questions. It certainly didn't work last time where the CFO came in after everybody was gone home. I'm very concerned, and that's why I brought that up about what the plans are for an interim CFO. I think that's something that needs some planning. When can we expect to have, the council has created a situation with their timing by doing this where we currently have, with all due respect, an inexperienced borough administrator who's working real hard but doesn't have the experience level, a temporary part-time DPW superintendent, and now no CFO. Does that show planning? Does that show professionalism?
We have a CFO in place.
Excuse me?
There's a CFO in place, getting paid till January 31st, isn't there?
Yes.
Okay, so then please
Yeah,
tell the truth
I
instead of
haven't
making
seen-
things up.
I'm not making it up.
You did.
The
You
man
just
is
said we
not,
didn't
the
have-
man is,
Excuse me.
Tom, I'm not going to argue with you.
There's
The man
the
is
word.
not here. He's been fired. He's there as a reference point only. I can't discuss the particulars of his agreement. Maybe you would like to continue to discuss them, but until that's been resolved, I can't. Look, I understand and accept that politics are involved, and, look, politics were involved. Mr. Morrison was our municipal judge, got there on politics, left on politics.
Are you actually
I'm really
lecturing
upset.
me on political firings? I just want to check that, because
No.
the only people
No.
that were on this council at the time that I was terminated for political reasons was the
Correct.
mayor and you. That's it.
And you are right.
So no one else has done that here.
They're all gone.
What?
Well,
And you're
they're
actually
gone. You're
lecturing
right.
me on political
I'm not
firing?
lecturing you. I'm telling you I accept it and I recognize it. Same thing with Mr. DeGuy on the planning board. That happens. I understand that. I'm concerned about the timing and the planning.
that happens and you understand it. You just went through a 20-minute political lecture on a political
It's a
firing.
good campaign speech.
Well, let me finish. No, it's not a campaign speech. You'd have to assume.
You've
it's
asked a lot of
campaign.
questions, and apparently you're going to have to go through them one at a time for them to be
No,
answered.
well, I'm not going to give the answers because I don't know the answers. We're spending.
Whoa, 10 minutes a second. Maybe we know the answers.
Okay.
And the
We're
borough
spending.
attorney said he's going to speak. I assume he's going to answer some of these questions.
Let me just
Doug,
finish.
could you finish, please?
Yeah, just a couple more things. We're spending money. I think the public has a right to know. We've changed. We've made some significant changes to the organization of the borough. I don't see it as being well planned. It's put a lot of pressure on a couple of people, and there's some big gaps. I'm used to seeing things go a little bit smoother, and I guess my first question is, and the main question I have is, why is this still being held as a secret agreement, and I'll ask the borough attorney, is it going to be released?
Is that it?
Now I'm done.
Okay, anyone else on council before Eric answers?
Let Eric answer first.
Anyone else? Frank, you have?
One of the things that I think it's, out of what Doug said, I think it's important to get an answer on whether the agreement can be released. But we were recently at a League of Municipalities meeting for newly elected officials, and I did ask a question about agreements of this type, and they did say that they are releasable, and I'm wondering, I guess I should wait for Eric, really.
Is that it? Anyone? Eric, you want to answer?
I received the councilman's inquiry, which I will note was only copied to the mayor and the clerk. I asked her then to pass it along to the rest of the governing body. We reviewed that decision. We've reviewed others. We have been working with the borough clerk, interim borough administrator, all week in between the snowflakes and the holidays. And it is our intention to respond to the Oprah request made by the newspapers, probably by early next week, which will include the release of a number of documents, I suspect, including the agreement, or at least parts of the agreement that can be released in accordance with law. In terms of the special meeting, if the council will remember, when we were here for their second regular meeting in December, Mr. DeJoseph and I came to the governing body, originally to the mayor, and asked that a special meeting be called. And the governing body agreed to call that special meeting. It was called for December 30th because it was a date that worked into everybody's calendar. In terms of the Rice notice, it became a timing issue, and the person, by the way, to deal with that issue was me. I was concerned that if there was going to be a resolution of this matter, and it could not be discussed in executive session unless Mr. DeJoseph was given a Rice notice, it had to be given. I spoke to Ms. Witkowski about it on Monday the 23rd. Unfortunately, I was unaware at the time that Mr. DeJoseph had decided to take that day off without advising anybody, and by the time I didn't become aware until he had been given the Rice notice on the 24th, until I received a email from the councilman about 2:30 that afternoon telling me the news that in fact that had occurred. Mr. DeJoseph was well aware of the possibility of the discussions on the 30th. The agreement is the agreement, folks. If people had questions they had an opportunity to ask, I think the councilman clearly indicated he did not take the opportunity to ask. He voted no on it, which was clearly within his rights. Mr. DeJoseph had signed off on it, because if he hadn't signed off on it, it wouldn't have been brought to the governing body that Monday night. The governing body did not fire him. By a 3-to-1 agreement, they agreed to accept the agreement and the resignations, both of them, the one for administrator and the one that has not yet occurred relative to the CFO. I'm not going to get involved in the politics, folks. I would point out the only other item in terms of the Public Works Director, this council has had multiple discussions on it. You all knew back in the summer, I believe, that Mr. Dury was intending to use his terminal leave, which was going to take him until almost Memorial Day by the time he used it. So I don't know whether or not the borough had any intentions or had any plans, I don't recall any during the last few months, regarding an interim DPW superintendent, etc. But the fact of the matter is that the agreement will become public probably next week. We'll deal with it afterwards.
Can I just have a follow-up question, Mr. Bernstein? Who who can, on this council, issue a rice notice?
Let's see, let's discuss it again.
Yep.
Because I believe, my recollection is I think this is the third time we've discussed this issue.
Second.
Third. The answer to the question is the administrator can for a personnel matter. I believe I can when it involves a matter that needs to be brought before the governing body that can't wait. I believe that the council can do so, and under certain circumstances, an individual councilman can make the request to the administrator. In the case at Bar, it was my call because otherwise there could have been no discussion in executive session.
I want to talk about the timing of that because you brought it up. I just find the whole thing rather interesting. When we picked the date of that meeting, both Councilman Pizzella and myself indicated that we were going to be out of town and flying in that evening. Okay, and we both indicated that we'd be landing at Newark around 6:20. If I remember, Councilman Pizzella from Buffalo and myself from San Francisco. It just happened to be right around at the same time. The meeting was called for 7:30. And as a result of that, I said, well, I want to make it to this meeting because it was called by the mayor, quite frankly, that meeting. If I remember correctly, he had asked if we could, he had asked at the meeting that there's going to be he was the one who I heard it from, that there was going to be a special meeting on December, I guess it was 30th, if I remember correctly. Or some time, I forgot the date exactly. It was the date that I was coming back and Councilman Pizzella was coming back. And when we went through the dates, we indicated that we would be away, but we'd be back, we think, by 6:20 and try to make it. So instead of driving my car to the airport, I arranged to have be picked up by because it was quicker to do it than to go to long-term parking, which, by the way, costs a sum of money to do it this way. So I can get here in time. I have 6:26 is when the plane landed, taxied to the terminal. I emailed or texted members of the council, told them that I was here, and I'm getting picked up as soon as I get my luggage. I'll be back hopefully within a few minutes. At 6:30, I texted, said I'm home, at 7:30, getting my car. Right when the meetings begin, I'll be down in 3 minutes. By the time I got here, the meeting was over. I was angry, quite frankly, and I understand that Councilman Pizzella did the exact same thing. He arrived at the same
Larry,
time.
the information that was given to me by Councilman DeGeis is that you were waiting for your luggage, and he did not know when you'd be here. No one told me that you were at home already before the meeting started.
You see these things? You see them? Everybody in this room has one. Anybody could have dialed my number, my cell phone number, and called me and said, "Where are you?"
What would have been
Anybody.
What would have the difference been? What
Well,
would have
the
changed?
difference is we would have had a bipartisan vote on this issue, and I believe we would have had everybody in the council would have spoke, read this thing, and discuss it and vote. We didn't get to do that
But,
because
Larry,
we
are you
weren't here.
saying that
And
I shouldn't
we were
take-
here, did everything we can to get here on time, and 5 minutes wouldn't have made a difference.
Yeah, but are you saying that I should call Councilman DeGeis a liar? Because Councilman DeGeis told me and the rest of the council that he was in communications with you, and you were waiting for your luggage. I quote, "You were at the airport waiting for your luggage."
I'm telling you-
I said, should I hold this meeting?
I'm
until
telling you
told
what
no, go
happened.
forward?
I'm telling you what happened. I'm telling you,
Oh, I
at 7:30,
believe that's what
I was
happened, but
in my
you're
car,
saying that
and 3
you're
minutes
mad.
later, I was here. All right?
I was willing to hold up that meeting. I said.
And I'll ask Councilman Pizzella.
If we had the 8 minutes, it's probably in there.
How long after this meeting ended did you get here?
I mean, I was here 10 minutes late.
Well,
Not
I
even.
never heard anything
but-
from Frank as to whether or not he'd be here, but I did hear that you were waiting, and I quote, "for your luggage at Newark Airport." I asked, should I start this meeting? And I was told, yes, you might as well go
Sorry.
forward.
I keep doing this. All of us could have been here at 7:37, and we weren't here. And I don't understand why people couldn't wait to find out, or call me exactly to find out.
I certainly wasn't in any hurry.
Look, I 2 weeks, when we had set that date, I did say that it was going to be very difficult for me to be here. I don't think it's relevant who was here and who wasn't here. I think the fact is that, the man resigned, and the reasons behind that are, I think, what is confidential, and negotiations that went on behind for that is what's confidential. The fact is that his agreement can be released, and it should be released, and Eric's confirmed that. And I think that we do everybody a disservice by continuing to bicker back and forth about it.
Mayor,
Except
just so
the
you-
person to your right.
Since you brought me into it,
Yeah.
the phone call that I had with him and told you he was waiting for his luggage happened about an hour before the meeting. I did not say at
Excuse me,
7:30.
while you were
it happened.
sitting
think
on
any of
this
this is
podium,
relevant.
I asked you and the rest of the council.
Yeah, and I said I talked to him,
Should I
he was
go,
waiting for
and
his
you
luggage.
you never said that he was
It
home.
wasn't then and
You
there, I
never
talked.
said that he'd be here in 7 minutes.
I know.
I don't,
Yes.
I hate to break up this wonderful discussion, but I'm not sure that that's really the point that I brought this up about.
Well, you
And
accused us of having a political firing. That's what you accused it of,
That's what it was.
right? Well, I don't agree with you. I don't. I
Okay.
disagree with you, and if everybody got
Let
an
the facts-
opportunity to speak,
and-
maybe you'd see otherwise.
and let
The
the
problem
facts-
is that Council Pizzella is right when he says that Mr. Joseph resigned, and the part of this that's confidential, maybe the reasons behind that, except that you keep, the questions
You're an
you've
attorney,
asked,
you know a forced resignation is the same thing
the
as a firing.
questions you've asked beg the question, what's behind the resignation? And you know full well that this body is not going to have, and it's inappropriate to have that discussion. You know that.
I
Because
said it
if
at
it is appropriate to do that, then Rice, Mr. DeJoseph now will have this discussion.
I said at the last meeting, and I'll say it again, and I'm sure Mr. Murphy will say it, because Mr. Murphy asked this council. At no time should the mayor and council of this town expend taxpayer dollars without the public being aware of what is being spent and how it's being spent. I mean, that's what goes on in Hudson County.
You know, I
Special
agree with
deal
that,
when
which is
people-
why this is going to be
Excuse me,
released.
it's my meeting, I'll allow you to speak. But bottom line is, we expended money in 2013, and the public has a right to know. Mr. Murphy asked from that podium at the last meeting, and he was told he could not know. He said he was going to go to Mr. Molinari down in Hackensack. If he did, I don't know, but bottom line is, the public has a right to know what dollars are being spent and how. It's our money. It's not, it's everyone, I should say, money. It's the taxpayers of Hillsdale's money. And they should have a right to know, and I believe the law says they have a right to know. Eric, you wanted to say something?
I don't recall any discussions anywhere along the line of using the phrase forced resignation. Not raised then, not raised before, only raised afterwards. I think when the documents are put out, the documents will be put out. I believe that, frankly, the more I've read, and I'll quote, paraphrase Will Rogers, all I know is what I read in the newspapers. I keep reading about everybody worried about hurting somebody's career. Keep talking about it. Keep talking about what the parameters were. Keep talking about why it was. The individual made a decision regarding his professional career. The decision was approved. Life moves on.
Mr. Mayor, if I may? I just want to correct a few things that were said. First of all, I don't think there's anyone sitting on this council that wants to keep this agreement from the public. I have no problem releasing it. I think it's transparency and good government are very important, okay? As soon as the attorney okays it, I don't know if it was Mr. DeJoseph and his attorney, or if it was our attorney who wanted the confidential. I don't know. I was not involved in negotiations in any way. I don't think anyone on this council, and I'm not going to speak for anybody, but I believe we're all okay releasing it as soon as the attorney okays it. As soon as it's legal to do so, go ahead, you can have it. I have no problem with that. So being told that the secrecy and this and that, no one on council made this a secret agreement. We were told this was a confidential document by the attorney. This is what his job is being our attorney with legal matters. We listened to him, okay. When he says it's time to release it because it's allowed, so be it. Good, I'm for it. Everyone should be able to have it. I agree with you. The other thing that was said, and I read it in the paper today, along with the fact that apparently this council is involved in illegal activities, which is preposterous in my idea, but we'll move on from that, is that Mr. Frank somehow thinks that we dumped a ton of work on our borough clerk. We would never do that. Sue's a very good worker, she's a very good clerk, and she was asked if she would like this job, if she would like to be the interim administrator. Is that something she could do? Would she like to do it? And she said yes. It wasn't, you're going to do this because this is what we want to do. Like, we're big, bad councilmen coming up and throwing stuff. You have to do this. We wouldn't do that. It would just be wrong, and it's a lie, because we didn't do it. The idea that that would happen is a joke. You want to talk about being political, making things up like that.
I'm sorry, but that's
Saying them
not
in
what he
public.
said.
What?
That's not what he said. He said she's going to have a lot of work.
No, he said we dumped a lot of work on her.
Yeah,
We didn't dump it on her. We asked her if she wanted the job.
and it's a lot of work.
But,
a lot of work.
But we didn't dump it on anybody. It was asked, and we did it with respect, and we're going to try and make it
That's
so
not
that
the
it's possible.
implication that I got from his comment.
Okay. So what I am saying,
Mr. DeGeis, when you can run and win as mayor, you can run this meeting. Until then, I will run the meeting.
How many years do we have to
I have 2 more years.
can I continue?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Let me stipulate,
Hold on.
dump
No, let Tom
is
finish.
probably a wrong word.
You think?
I'll step, yeah.
So was illegal activities by the council, but you're okay with that, aren't you?
Well, who said that?
You did in the paper. You want me to read it? I have it right here.
Please.
My apologies, people, but I was a little upset today when I read this in the paper, because I really, really don't agree with saying secrecy in local government can lead to a number of illegal actions by elected officials.
Can lead to.
I am afraid Hillsdale is
Now we're
now
getting silly.
on that course.
Now we're
Right?
getting silly.
That's word for word from his letter to the editor.
Sure.
This is what he said.
Absolutely.
He's accusing us of going down the path of illegal activities, and I think it's wrong.
Could lead to.
Come
Could
on,
lead to.
I have the floor. I didn't interrupt you when you were talking, and I ask you to do the same, please.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't like the implications of what we're accused of. He's accusing us of being political. I disagree. I think this was a bipartisan agreement. I agree that maybe the timing could have been better, but you know what? When you make a move like this, it's never the best time. There's always going to be a little rough road, all right? I think the borough's moving forward. I think it's doing a good job. I think our interim administrator is stepping up and doing a great job, and I think everyone else here, our employees that we have, step up and do a good job. I'm proud of them, and I think that things will go smoothly once we get everything in place that we need. I'm proud of it. Thank you.
I just want to know what the
Wait, Doug,
bipartisan.
before you say that, Tom,
Yes,
no
sir.
offense, but bipartisan means both parties.
Okay, Frank, if you
The
were
vote
here, what
was-
would you have voted?
I think it's
I mean-
improper to put him on the spot like that.
You
Frankly,
asked.
it's a non-issue, folks, and can we please move on?
My apologies. Sorry for putting you on the spot.
You know, ultimately, Councilman, we do have to move on, and we do have to have a plan that makes sense. And one of the things I'd like to throw out to council is the following, because I believe combining together the CFO and the borough administrator isn't best for Hillsdale. I think those 2 jobs together ought to be separated. I think that towns, plenty of towns, have combined together the administrator and the town clerk. And I think that's a more appropriate way to go. And that's a discussion that we need to have, and we need to have soon, as to what the plan is. And I think, again, combining the CFO and the administrator puts the fox in charge of the hen house, proverbially. And I think you have to separate those 2 jobs out so that we have checks and balances along those lines that make sense. Again, because we have X number of employees, well, we have an X plus 1 number of jobs, we combine 2 of them together. You chose to combine those 2 together, which I disagree with. I think we should consider combining together the borough clerk as well as the borough administrator. I think that makes more sense. It's been done before, and I think it's reasonable under the circumstances, and have a separate CFO. And I
Larry-
think that's a plan we need to discuss.
Larry, I agree with you. It's something that can be discussed. Be aware that we did discuss this when we merged the 2, and there were reasons, and we looked at both. But obviously, towns do have a clerk administrator, and other towns have
Well,
a
apropos
clerk,
to Councilman
administrator, and
Frank's-
CFO.
Apropos to Councilman Frank's comments, we do have to move forward. We do have to accept what's going on, and we can belabor this from now till doomsday, but I don't think that serves the borough. I think what serves the borough is coming up with a plan and is determining how how we go forward in what capacity with respect to what personnel.
Well, at
And so I'm
Reorg-
throwing that out for
I was
discussions.
told that a plan exists.
Excuse me?
And then Mr. DeGeis
Yeah,
pulled
but,
that comment back.
excuse me, Mayor, I'm going to quote for you again. When Mr. DeGeis misspoke, I spoke up and said he misspoke. I said to you, and I quote, "No plan exists. There's been no meetings about any plan," and I think he simply misspoke. There is no plan, specific plan, because the council, through its two committees, its finance committee and its personnel committee, need to vet this, and so we can make recommendations to the council. So there is no plan. But Councilman Frank brought up the fact that we ought to have a plan, and it ought to be discussed by the entire council. So let me be the first to bring this up, that we consider combining together the administrator with the clerk, and instead of combining together the CFO with the administrator. And I'd like to hear people's input on that. Because as
Do you
long as
wanna
we're
do
going to
it
have a
now?
discussion, let's have
Do
it.
you want to do it now? Or
Well,
do
you
wanna
tell
do
me,
it
Councilman.
Separately? 'Cause we
I
did
would
go-
prefer
we
to
already
do it
went through this.
separately, because I think it makes sense to do it separately.
We already went through this 2 years ago, but we'd be happy to go through it again.
Yeah, but we didn't go through it 2 years ago.
Okay.
Okay? And we may have a difference of opinion.
Yep.
And we could debate this issue.
That's
So
fair.
let's do it sooner rather than later, so we can get through whatever budget issues we have to get through, so we can do it in a smooth and fashion.
I'll ask the mayor, what would be, in your opinion, the appropriate venue? Should we do it in the finance committee or full council?
I think that the whole council, that's a decision for the whole council to make, but I think that the committees can discuss it amongst themselves. I think what you have to do is sit down with your professionals, as we did the last time, to get their input as to what they feel they need in a clerk, in an administrator, and in a CFO. And then the finance committee, as we did before, has to look at the dollars and cents of what they would, the optimum of what they would like, and then make a decision what can be afforded.
Well, when you say that, let me ask you a question, because maybe you have a difference of opinion what the Personnel Committee does, because I take a much wider view of what the Personnel Committee does.
No, I said,
Professionals, I understand that, but why can't, I don't understand why can't the Personnel Committee have a meeting sometime in the next several days to discuss how they believe the administration ought to be structured with respect to these positions, and then make a recommendation to council or send it to the finance committee to look at the numbers. I don't understand why the
without talking to the professionals?
Well, the personnel committee could talk to the professionals. The entire council doing it makes no
All right,
sense.
Sue, set up a meeting so that we can talk to DPW superintendent, Chip, and, the chief of police, and well, you're the clerk, so you'll be there. That's the three departments that had input the last time as to what they were looking for, and then we'll go forward.
I think a borough attorney ought to have some input into that as well.
Excuse me?
I think our borough attorney ought to have some input into that as well. He is a professional that's dealt with several other towns and how they're structured.
Well, okay. All right, Doug, you have anything else?
I think, for tonight, I think that's enough.
Anyone else have anything else on this? Eric? Sue?
No, because I don't really want to speak about it right now. I'm just gonna do my job.
Okay. I'll move on to the next item for discussion. Youth and Government Day. Sue?
I think I have a much happier topic to talk about. Make it a happier topic to talk about. I set up a meeting with the vice principal, here with my voice in Soren, at the high school last week. And I sat with her, and I sat with the gentleman who is in charge of the student councils, and the gentleman that's in charge of the government class was not in attendance, he was out that day. And I sat with them, and I brought up the subject of Youth and Government Day in Hillsdale. And what I'd like to do, and I've done it in the past, and it's been very well received on both ends, is set up a day that the kids come in and do role-playing as a council. They come in ahead of time, we talk about what's going on, I get them on the website, they can review some minutes, and then they come in and they sit up here as council people, with you guys behind them. Not that they're here by themselves and you're out there throwing apples at them.
Wait, do they have to specifically role-play the exact character that they're standing
No.
behind? Because that would be hysterical.
That could make it a lot more fun.
I can make that request.
The only thing I
I
wish
just had to,
I
I had to lighten up the room a little bit, I'm sorry.
think something like that should, which is a great idea, but I think it should be done after we get through this,
Oh, it's not until May.
Okay.
So I'm giving you 5
pretty
months
hard to
to
do in
decide
some
what you want to do and where we're going to be. But
Okay.
it's fun, it's good for the kids, it's good community service with everybody, it brings the community together, the kids get to learn. A lot of the kids have no clue what government does, you know?
Great.
And I will ask all of you to, if you have something you want to write for commentaries, you write it up, the kids can read it, you're right behind them. If there's a question that's asked, you can answer it through the kids. But there'll be a resolution that they are actually appointed as the council people that night in place of, you know, Tom Kelly, AKA David. It's a great program, it's positive, it's fun, the kids get a lot out of it, the school gets a lot out of it.
Which grade would it be?
It'll be seniors, they're gonna start with the senior kids, could be some, juniors. So they're gonna start with the older grades. So,
That's great, that's great.
You know, as long
Right,
as
you know,
everybody's
as
okay
long as
with
the
it.
school has no problem with it.
they fell in love with the idea, they thought it
Sounds
was great,
great.
so.
Well done.
Stay
Mr.
tuned.
Murphy, if, out of courtesy to the board, if you could let them know that we're moving forward with this. I'm sure they should have been told already.
Yeah, well, that's why they were gonna, after tonight, I have to actually, if you're all in agreement with it, I have to type to the vice principal.
okay.
Because she's going away for a few days, and the board's having a meeting next week, I think Monday,
Does this
or something like
require an
that, and they
actual
wanna
vote?
just, you know, present it to them, and say, this is what we would like to do, so.
I think the issue, they're asking is I don't think it needs to be a formal vote, it's consensus anyway, be a problem.
Right, I mean, you know,
Okay, so I would write the letter and set it up.
and I didn't set it up for a work session, so you all can have your talk time. You know, I did it for an action meeting, so it's not as much, and you don't have to worry about what you're not getting across, okay? So as long as you're all on board, like a twist your arms, I will email the vice principal when I leave here.
Works for me.
All right.
Thank you.
The ordinances for Stony Brook and Rec have been pulled. Where's my agenda? I got this one. Where's the one that you wrote on? The reason that we pulled them is to give the Finance Committee an opportunity to review the budgets so that they know, here it is. Now, you pulled this and this,
They're all gonna get pulled.
but not this. This is pulled through, right?
They're all pulled.
All right, Larry, you're gonna let us know when we can handle that?
We're not ready to do this yet. We need to have these two groups come before the Finance Committee first, so we get an idea how this compares to last year, on the revenue side as well as on the expense side.
I would just remind the Finance Committee that the sooner we can get this done, Stony Brook and, the Rec Commission too, because of their rates and the ability to publish the rates, we want to get it done as quick as possible.
I agree with that, and I don't know when we're scheduled for our next.
But I
Finance
agree with pulling them.
Yeah, there's another issue also, there's the minimum wage issue, which is not reflected here on the change in minimum wage.
No problem.
Can I make a suggestion? Who's the rec liaison? Who's the?
Chris.
Chris, could you sit down with them, and, I don't know, Stony Brook is separate, are you Stony Brook also?
Yep.
Sit down with them, get an explanation as to what the difference is on rates year to year, any changes in salaries and such, because that's basically what we're looking for.
Yeah, I actually have that information, so whenever the finance meeting meets, I can come to that meeting if Patty can't and relay that to you.
I
You
also
can't come
want,
to this work.
I also want them to assure you,
Photocopy.
and so that you can assure us, they've incurred some expenses last year, and they're still incurring over this addition, to assure that the rates that they're going to charge, the salaries they're going to pay, including, and now with the additional cost, there's enough money in those
Oh, there's
rates.
enough money, they incurred costs on, they were,
Okay.
in construction costs, you have that little extra cushion
As
and all
long as
that,
there's
so
enough
that's
there
all
that they can
included. I know that there was, not with the camp, but with Stony Brook, the minimum wage and where that fell, and there was a little disagreement over whether they were, which minimum wage was the one that they had to go to, so that's actually something that,
All right, well, let
was resolved
Larry
today,
know,
so.
and between the two of you, let us know when we can introduce these. Okay. So we're not going to do any ordinances tonight, so we'll move to resolutions. 1430, authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an interlocal with Rivervale for use of the indoor pistol range. The rate is $2,229.60. Can't round that up, huh?
Nope, it's on a percentage.
14032, authorize mutual aid plan and rapid deployment force through Bergen County Police Chiefs Association. 14, anyone that wants to discuss or pull anything, let me know when I'm done. 14034, approve quasi-entities included in borough insurance program. 14035, authorize Lurch, Vincent, and Higgins to perform accounting services end of year 2013. I'm going to ask for a separate vote on that. 14036, authorize refund of overpayment of property taxes. 14037, approval of JIF Mel Risk Management Agreement, January 1st through January 1st, 2015. 14038, authorized to extend municipal allowance grant until June 30th, 2014. 14039, authorize various payments for electronic funds transfer via internet. 14040, designate and authorize appropriate staff to negotiate shared service interlocal agreement with Westwood. Is that the fuel?
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to vote on that separately? Is that all right? I don't know. The fire department will be fueling up.
Yes.
So, but I'm saying, can I do that?
Separately.
Do it separately.
Mayor,
Okay.
I'd like to pull
Well,
14030.
wait 1 minute. So I'm going to do 14035 separately, 1440 separately, then
14034.
14 quasi entities. Larry?
So why don't we do this?
The municipal alliance, okay. Anything else? Okay, so I'm going to ask for a motion for 14030, 14032, 14036, 14037, and that's it.
14039.
I'm sorry, 14039. Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor, I'm going to call the roll because the clerk is basically squeaking right now. Councilman DeGeis.
Yes.
Councilman Frank.
Yes.
Councilman Kelly.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lewis.
Yes.
Councilman Meyerson.
Yes.
Councilman Pizzella.
Yes.
Okay. 14034, approval of quasi-entities, including the borough insurance program. Motion?
Right. Oh, motion before I...
Motion, second.
Yeah.
Discussion?
Yeah, I had a question. I think last year, the quasi-entities, cost of the insurance was moved into the rec trust. And I want to make sure that it's covered by the rec trust. It doesn't go into general...
If I may say, the whole purpose of having this is if you want to fill out certain applications to include them, just by having them under this quasi-stated on a resolution, does not mean they're automatically in the insurance policy. It means that if you want to, you can now submit an application. In order to submit an application to Mel, you need to have a passed resolution. So it's basically, we do this
This is
every
preliminary?
year. This is preliminary, just
Okay.
if at any point during the year we want to do it, it's already done. And it's been done always, it's just a renewal of the resolution. It by no means does it mean this is who we're covering.
Okay, and my only concern was last year. Last year or 2 years ago, we started moving it into the rec trust.
It's just if any sort of insurance policy comes up that we want to include any of these organizations or apply for coverage through the mail, we have the resolution in place.
Okay.
All right?
I'm good.
All right, motion. We had a motion, we had a second. Roll call, please.
Councilman DeGeis.
Yes.
Councilman Frank.
Yes.
Council President Kelly.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lewis.
Yes.
Councilman Meyerson.
Yes.
Councilman Pizzella.
Yes.
Okay, 14035, authorize Lurch, Vincent, and Higgins to perform accounting services for year-end 2013. Motion?
Motion.
Second? Second. My question, Larry, the funds for this is available in 2013's budget, or is it coming out of 2014? How's that work?
You know, I don't know the answer to that question, whether it's 13 or 14.
Okay,
I have a question. Is this their end-of-year close, or is
No.
this the budget prep?
This is budget prep.
It probably should say that, because that says the end-of-year close is included
Yeah,
already
that's the
in our
confusing
agreement.
part.
That's the end of your close, that's a separate resolution, I
Yeah,
think.
but that was done, I think that's covered by the fact that we hired them to close
Well, hold a second.
2013,
There is
my
another-
understanding.
Hearing noise
I thought we were hiring them to prep the 2014
Yeah, it's to help with the budget
budget.
prep, because we don't have a we do have a CFO, but he's not doing it, so we need to have somebody to do it.
That's,
Yeah.
neither here, the money has
should
to
be
be
worded
allocated. The way this looks, it's 2013, but I believe it's 14.
Hold a second.
That's my question.
2014 budget.
Well, it says order, hold on, okay, whereas there is an decision.
And it's authorized Lurch, Vinci, and Higgins to perform accounting services year-end, 2013. This
Part of
is-
the budget prep is
Yeah.
is getting the ending for 2013.
Right.
And I thought that was part of the budget prep, so they are going to be end-of-year services in order to get actuals for 2013. And I don't know which one, where the line is crossed between, is that part of budget prep for 2014?
In the past, the auditor automatically does a year-end.
Okay.
But because of what's going on, I think that you need additional work at year-end. Normally, the year-end report from the auditor comes out sometime in March or April. It doesn't affect the budget.
Well,
So
if you
That's the
remember,
AFS.
if you remember last year, we had to hire them to do the year-end services because our auditor did not do it, if you recall last year.
We had the same resolution last year, slightly worded differently, and I sent this to the auditor, and this is the terminology, because he said it's in preparation of the workbooks. So this is a little bit different. This isn't the whole audit.
And this is really, it borders on what the CFO normally
Yes.
does. And since we
I'm
don't have a
just saying,
CFO
You gotta
now.
figure out where you're gonna take it from.
Excuse me?
If you're gonna take it out of remaining funds, if there is any from 2013.
I would love to do that, except that I don't know whether or not what we're allowed to do, and I need the CFO to tell me.
Yeah.
All right,
But
so,
basically, this is preparation of the books and roll-ups for the 2014 budget as we get through it.
that's what I believe we need, particularly when we go through what we did on the Finance Committee. We're gonna need somebody to prepare exactly the books and the roll-ups.
And this was where Mr. Lurch gave us an $8,000 estimate.
That's what it says here.
Right.
Now, if the council determines that we need an interim CFO and we engage the services of an interim CFO, then we will not need this work done by Mr. Lurch. That's my understanding.
Well, not
I
really,
don't
well,
think so. I think you're
that's,
gonna need it.
We're gonna need it anyway?
I think so.
my conversation with Mr. Lurch also was, and I said, what you guys are saying, if I do a lot of the work of the workbook, is it $8,000 still? And he said, no. He said, the less work they do, that figure will come down.
Okay.
So today, speaking to the auditor, there's certain things that they automatically run as an auditor and drop in the book.
I see.
And we went through last year's book, and I said, what do I need here, and what about that? And, we had a nice conversation. I'm going to now go back to the staff and say, Joanne, I need your help. We need to print out this report, that report, that
All right.
report. So it might not end up being that $8,000.
Which is why the wording not to exceed $8,000.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, Larry?
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyone else?
That's good.
Okay, we had a motion and a second roll call.
Councilman DeGeis?
Yes.
Councilman Frank?
Yes.
Councilman President Kelly?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lewis?
Yes.
Councilman Meyerson?
Yes.
Councilman Pizzella?
Yes.
Okay, 14038, authorized to extend municipal alliance grant until June 30th, 2014. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Well, before you do that, I did have a question on this,
Oh.
why I pulled it out. I'm not, I read through this thing. Is there a matching number, requirement from the borough?
You get $3,703.
Is that something that we've done last year?
Well, that's why I gave you the backup from last year as well. 'Cause I was
This is from last year,
confused too.
okay. Because there's an in-kind match, a cash match, and that's been budgeted last year. for
Yes.
this money.
Yes.
We've done this every year.
Okay, just asking.
And this is just an extension. For whatever reason, they're extending it till June this year.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we're not budgeting stuff that we never budgeted before. That's all. Every year.
Yes, like half the year.
Okay, I had a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilman DeGeis?
Yes.
Councilman Frank?
Yes.
Council President Kelly?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lewis?
Yes.
Councilman Meyerson?
Yes.
Councilman Pizzella?
Yes.
Okay, 14040, designate and authorize appropriate staff to negotiate shared service interlocal fuel agreement with Westwood. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Hold on.
Second?
Jay, I don't think we should motion that. Yeah, that's somebody else do it.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. This is, the way I understand this, this isn't the final agreement. You're negotiating the agreement, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, I would suggest that all the department heads that fuel, ambulance, everyone, should be aware of this and make sure that they, whatever comments they have. One of the questions I have, I can't negotiate with them on fire also, but I'll leave it up to Larry and the finance committee. Is that how you want to handle it? Saying that,
Mayor, if I may, when I took this project over on the, there's certain things that are set prices and other things that are negotiable. So I think if we leave it in the hands with the administrator, she's been working very tightly with Mr. Hoffman over there, the administrator in Westwood. But I would like a letter to go out to all the department heads asking if they have any questions or input or concerns upon fueling in Westwood at their fuel depot.
yeah, okay. One thing I just want to mention is, let's not sever our ability to fuel up in local gas stations in the event that whatever.
No, unfortunately, none of them were picked on the state contracts as of yet, any of the local gas stations. That's why we went this route. But in any kind of state of emergency through OEM, we can fuel in any gas station we want to.
Okay. All right. So I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilman DeGeis, Councilman Frank,
Yes.
Council President Kelly,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Lewis,
Yes.
Councilman Meyerson,
Yes.
Councilman Pizzella.
Yes.
Okay, we have 14041, paying the bills. Motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Second?
Second,
Wait,
sorry.
wait.
Okay,
You can't motion.
Okay, my apologies.
Somebody else needs to motion.
Always being
He
the bad guy.
normally makes a statement. He'd
That's right, he
I
can't,
will.
he shouldn't motion. He can
I'll
vote, but
take
he's
care of it.
got to abstain
Okay,
from.
all right.
So please, somebody else
Do I have
motion.
a motion? Yes,
Motion.
Larry?
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
For the sake of the public, we do this every week. As I said before, Mr. Kelly and Mr. DeGeis are firemen. Part of the budget has fire items in it. They are not voting for fire items, they're voting for everything else. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Frank,
Yes.
Council President Kelly,
I abstain on any and all bills related to and/or for the fire department and approve all others.
Councilwoman
Getting good at
Lewis,
that.
Yes.
Councilman Myers.
Yes.
Councilman Pizzella,
Yes.
Councilman DeGeis.
Abstain from any and all bills related to and or for the fire department, approve all other bills.
You know, I think you should do is get something I can just hold up like this. All right, roll call, please. Oh, we did that. 14033, 031, authorize mutual aid to fire department.
Motion.
Second. That you can't vote for. Roll call.
Council President Kelly,
I'll abstain.
Councilwoman Lewis,
Yes.
Councilman Myers.
Yes.
Councilman Pizzella,
Yes.
Councilman DeGeis, Councilman Frank.
Yes.
14033, approval of raffle license 700 for the fire department, May 5th through May 9th, 2014. Motion, please.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Lewis,
Yes.
Councilman Meyerson,
Yes.
Councilman Pizzella,
Yes.
Councilman DeGeis,
Abstain.
Councilman Frank,
Yes.
Council President Kelly.
Abstain.
Okay, that's it on resolutions. At this point, I'll open the
One more.
meeting to the... What?
Right, was that the, I'm sorry, no,
No, that was
you're right, sorry. I'll stop interrupting.
I'll open the meeting to the public. Anyone wishing to address the council, please come to the microphone, speak into the microphone, give us your name and address. Anyone? Damn it. Mr. Mayor Murphy, I thought I'd be able to bang it down before you got your hand up.
Slow.
You know you can't do that.
Oh, yes, I can.
Good evening. Alfred J. Murphy Jr., 5 Cherry Place. In spite of a message that came to me tonight while I was napping before I came down here, a dream from my wife did not come. Her advice was, don't go down to the Borough Council meeting on a snowy night. And Like the first time she told me not to do that, I decided against it, and I came here
She
tonight.
told you the last time when you fell not to come
You know,
down.
I'm going to try and be very careful when I leave tonight. The inside joke. A couple things before we get to the agenda. I'm looking at the garbage and recycling schedule, and, you know, I don't know that Pavlov can keep changing the protocol around to be followed, but, you know, I switched from trash or from recycling on Wednesdays to Fridays and putting my garbage out now on Wednesdays instead of Fridays. And then I look here that you're going to change it again in March. Oh, that's vegetative waste, I'm sorry. I looked in the wrong
Instead of
column.
waste, in the past, it was Thursday and Friday, that's gonna go to Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, no, okay.
That's part of the same changeover.
It is a little confusing. Certainly was confusing to me. When are we going to finish picking up the leaves?
It should be
Guess as soon
done.
as the snow's gone now.
Mr. Murphy, do you have a pile of leaves somewhere that needs to be picked up?
Excuse me?
Do you have a pile of leaves?
Do I have a
Need-
pile of
no,
leaves? Not in
do
front of
you?
my house, but there are around town.
Then call me. Call Butch. Call Butch.
Call
What?
DPW.
Call DPW. They were out last week for over 2 days, finishing picking up and tidying up, and it should have been all done. If they're out there, call him.
Okay. How are we going to handle this year?
I have asked Councilman DeGeis and the Superintendent Butch Franklin, and I've also asked the ex-superintendent Keith Dury if they would sit down with me to discuss what we need, if anything, to avoid this for next year. At this point in time, I'm still trying to set that meeting up. Obviously, we do have time. I'm not looking to, nitpick on what just happened, but I just certainly don't want this to happen again. And it might be a simple solution, it might not be, I don't know. But until we sit down and discuss it and get their recommendations, I can't tell you.
Now, I also believe that there are other DPWs from other towns in Hillsdale picking
Yes,
up
there
leaves.
was.
Do we have an agreement with those towns?
No, they offered their help to us. They reached out to us, actually. They were done with their leaf programs and asked if we need any help finishing up our leaf program. We said yes. We were nice enough to have Washington Township in for 1 8-hour day. We had Wookov Lake in for 1 8-hour day, and we had Westwood in for 7 days.
Oh, okay. No charge?
Nope, but we go ahead and help different ways too.
Okay. All right, I guess that's it on that. It says here on the agenda, and you voted that the minutes are approved. Can I pick up a copy tonight?
They're on the website as soon as they're approved.
They're on the website tonight?
No, tomorrow.
If I get out of here before midnight tonight, yes.
They'll be on tomorrow.
Okay, so some of the stuff that we've been asking for will be there? Because I see there are closed session minutes.
That one's separate. That hasn't been approved yet.
The fact that we voted to approve them tonight on closed session does not necessarily mean they're being released. What will be on the website tomorrow is the approved open session minutes, but I don't know what closed session minutes the borough attorney has released at this point in time, correct?
That's correct.
May I ask a question? My understanding is we've started a process by which we're going to be posting our meetings on YouTube.
They're already there.
They're up already.
They're up already, but are they, what's the lag time?
There's also a link from our website where you click and then you get connected right to YouTube, so you don't have to search out the YouTube thing. You can go to our borough website and then there's a link there that'll take you and then you can see this again.
I've been
Where is-
asking for years if
where
we
is it
could
on the
repeat
website?
it on,
Where is it on our
If we
website?
go government, if they go to council, where the minutes are,
Oh, it's down by
And then
minutes?
this, right to the right, it says view.
Are we the
Click on
first,
view.
are we the
We
first?
weren't able to get the access station to repeat it, but what Sue was able to arrange, I think it was Sue.
Sue and Denise.
Okay, it's available on YouTube.
But I
You know
believe,
YouTube, right?
YouTube?
Yeah.
I understand YouTube.
So go to YouTube, you can watch our meeting.
YouTube
You
yourself.
could be bored twice, you could actually see yourself sitting here twice.
but I believe Mr. Murphy's talking about the closed session minutes. Is that going to be on the website? And we didn't vote to do that.
No, not yet.
If they're not available, why are we approving them?
The council approves it, that the content of the minutes are correct. The attorney has to approve whether or not the actions that we took in closed session are complete before he's allowed by law to release them. And then there are certain things in the closed session that are never released.
I understand that. So when you approve the closed session minutes, why aren't they then available, whatever's available?
What
Because
it
no,
means is
Mr.
that I've
Mayor.
read the closed session minutes, or they've read the closed session minutes, and the contents of the minutes are what reflects what happened at the meeting.
Mr. Murphy, no different than the school board. The law requires under the Madawan-Aberdeen Regional Board of Education case that the minutes be approved. The fact that they're approved doesn't make them public.
There was just a
series-
recent.
and there's a
Okay,
series-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And there's a series of cases, and I'm well aware of the recent case regarding the issue. They still have to be approved, and then they become public. Until they're approved, they can't be potentially made public,
Eventually, they'll be made public, but I can't.
unless they fall under one of the exceptions.
Because I know what'll happen. You're gonna go to the website tomorrow, and then you're gonna call me and say, why aren't they there? So I answered you,
And I'm up at 5 in the morning.
no.
Call
You're
him.
sleeping too.
Call him.
But don't worry, Sue, I won't
He has
look
a
for
cell
them
phone
now.
that you're paying for, call him.
Excuse me?
He has a cell phone that you're paying for, call him.
Well, all right. On, you call it C7. It's the ISO issue regarding recent public protection classifications, a survey for fire suppression services. What's that about?
I can take that. Each borough has an insurance rating. They're based on their services, and this was just recently redone in Hillsdale. They come in, there's a whole report on the many things they do. I think we were rated 4, which is about as high as any volunteer department's gonna get. It went well. Chief and the department did good, and everything worked pretty well.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes, sir.
you can have some more reading at 5 o'clock in the morning, because along with doing YouTube videos, I added a column for agenda material. That whole report is on the agenda, on the website.
on
So you can
YouTube?
read that along with the
Thank you.
resolution, everything.
All right, thank you. That's it. Under the resolutions, R 14032. We're approving here or authorizing the approval of a mutual aid plan and rapid deployment through the Bergen County Chiefs Association. Why don't we do that through the county? Because the Chiefs Association is not a governmental organization.
I think it's coordinated through the county program. Chief, you want to address that?
Mr. Murphy, the County Chiefs Association has been given a task by the county prosecutor, who's the chief of police, for the county to manage the mutual aid. Mutual aid is covered by Title 40, but then you have to have a plan. And so the chiefs, through the association, promulgate the plan, and then for insurance purposes, we have to pass an annual resolution. We are participating in the plan, and we also have officers who are a member of the rapid deployment
Okay, and it's through the county, then it's authorized.
through the state. Ultimately, it goes back to Title 40, and then that should fall down to the
Okay.
prosecutor as the chief law enforcement officer, and then it's administered by the county chief's
All right.
association.
Thank you.
Chief,
The
this
next,
is the group that was just deployed for the incident at the mall, correct?
Correct. They're deployed anytime we need
Yeah.
larger force.
the next resolution then, 14034, what is considered to be a quasi-entity?
The ones we have listed on here, Group 1,
Category. They're separated into different categories, and so the category 1 is, I don't have my paper from me here. Category 1 is Hillsdale Public Safety Associations and Auxiliaries.
Okay, I don't have that. That's part of the resolution?
Yeah, it's listed on the resolution that she said will be posted online, so you'll be able to see how it's broken up, how, whether you're category 1, 2, 3, or 4 depends on, it's already a predefined definition, so therefore, athletic associations are always 4, the public safety is 1, and then the volunteer ambulance fire department are 2. And that's how, depending on what your group is where they're placed. So a quasi is anything that's within the borough, but an independent, as our ambulances, as our fire department, and as certain sports associations are. But not all. The rec department isn't a quasi because it's under the borough, because, it answers to the borough, it's set up by the borough.
Thank you. 14039. Which payments will be handled through the internet?
The rec program, Stony Brook, they're all using the internet now, where you can go on PayPal.
Yeah, and also, parking? Well, it's also parking, but also taxes. Candace is hoping, a tax collector is hoping to get up and running the first week of February, or actually by February 1st, she's hoping for. That people can go online and pay their taxes online through the internet now. But we also include to make sure that we're covered for Stony Brook, recreation, parking permits. So that's what that resolution is. They're authorizing us to be able to do that via the internet.
Okay, thank you. 14031, authorize mutual aid to fire departments. What does that mean?
Annual agreement
It's
between fire departments.
every year we have to pass a resolution to enable the fire departments to go on mutual aid calls within, we can do it within our mutual aid group, and we can do it by doing this outside of it. It's up to the chief. So that way everybody's insured.
Okay, thank you. The other thing is, just want to comment that this is probably the first time that I've had to do this as a person in Hillsdale, a citizen in Hillsdale. And starting back in the end of the 50s, I could come to a council meeting and request information, and it would be provided to me. I've never had to fill out a piece of paper before, but today I turned in to the borough clerk a request under the Open Public Records Act, and I feel a little concerned that I've had to do it now after all these years. And I'm looking for the agreement between Mr. DeJoseph and Hillsdale concerning his separation, resignation, not sure what we're calling it these days, including any money payments made or to be made to Mr. DeJoseph. And I think this is really a reiteration of what I asked for at the last meeting or the previous meeting. And there was just, I was stonewalled. There was nothing from the dais except that we have an agreement and we can't talk about it.
Mr.
And,
Murphy, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Your attorney advises you that there's something you're not supposed to talk about. Do you listen to him, or do you ignore him and say it anyway?
I try and find out from my attorney why he's come to that conclusion.
Excuse me, I have a question. Were you here,
Released.
Councilman, if you don't mind,
Sorry.
were you here a few minutes ago when?
An hour ago.
Well, an hour ago, I guess. Time flies when you're having fun. Were you here an hour ago at the beginning of the meeting when our attorney said it's going to be released next week?
I've had a lot of discussion to that effect.
Okay, then why are you asking to have it released again?
I'm telling you what I put in today, what I was looking for.
Excuse me?
I'm telling you what I put in today, what I was looking for.
Well, I understand that, but the open request was made, and the attorney tells us it's going to be released at the beginning next week. Is that right, Counsel?
Yeah, Mr. Murphy's request will be answered in accordance with the law.
Would you say that again, please?
Your Oprah request will be answered in accordance with the law.
Fine, okay, and I'm just telling you what I put in on the Oprah request today, because it's the first time I've ever had to do that.
I'm sorry, but I follow the law too. and
I'm
that's-
not objecting to you.
Okay, just so you know.
No, I understand.
I had to give it to you, sorry.
You're following the directions that you're getting.
No, she's
No,
following
I'm
the law,
following the
Mr.
law.
Murphy. The law requires, if you want to make a request for public record, and I think you should know this in your capacity as a Board of Ed member, that there's a requirement to go to the custodian of records, which in this case is the borough clerk, and make a request for a public record. This is nothing unique. You're not being singled out. You're not being asked to do something that anyone else in this room or who's watching on the camera or who exists is made to do. And I'm sure in all you're sitting at Northern Valley, and there's an ongoing dispute, if I recall, regarding public records up there, that there have been requests for public records, and they have to file Oprah claims.
I don't know anything about Northern Valley.
Pasco Valley.
Alex Valley.
I just one question. I want to ask the borough clerk. Since you've been here, how many open requests have we received?
Oh, please, the first year,
Uncountable,
I just
maybe?
can't even.
Uncountable?
Over 300. I guess honestly over 300.
And how many open requests do you think are made a day upon borough clerks in Bergen County alone?
Oh,
Thousands?
thousands.
Hundreds of
It's one of the.
hundreds.
it's one
Hundreds of
the-
thousands.
it's
This
one of
is
the
not an
issues.
unusual thing.
Yeah.
The law says we do and we follow the law. And this will be released in accordance with the law.
And I'm telling you that since the end of the 50s.
Back up a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, just that.
Yeah, I guess I have the same problem that you do, because
No, it's not your fault. It's our machines are Noah used that machine on the Ark.
I've never had to fill one of these out before. I would ask for it at a meeting, and one of the council members or the mayor would hand the paper over to me.
Well, let me be the first to ask you for one then.
Pardon?
Just because that's the way it happened didn't mean that that was right, Mr. Murphy. Sometimes things change, laws change, and things have to move in accordance with what we're told by the Attorney General. And when this has changed and this is the way we have to do it, it's nothing against you or anybody else who requests a document.
No,
There's just a procedure to follow, that's all it is.
Al, everything you've asked for in the past has been part of the meeting agenda, and that's why the council was able to hand you a copy of it. When you ask for something that's not available, that's why the Oprah request had to be put in. We were told that we could not give out, and as a matter of fact, the night of the 30th, when the agreement was signed, everyone except one, which was Councilman Pasella, because he got here late and he didn't have an opportunity to peruse it, turned
That's
the
two.
agreement back in.
Did you forget?
Oh, you too, Larry? Okay, I'm sorry. So that is why it's, even if I had it, I wouldn't have given it to you because the attorney said we can't discuss it. So-
Okay, the other thing I was looking for was a copy of the rice notice to Mr. DeJoseph and the minutes of the meeting at which that was discussed and approved.
That should be available.
And he'll be provided in accordance with the law.
That's not something I can give you because I don't have it. But it's public record.
I would presume that there are minutes of that meeting.
Which we just approved tonight, but not the closed session. They were approved, but they're not going to be
Well,
released.
I'm going to look further into the closed session
And the
business.
minutes of the actual meeting are not that in-depth. You know, nothing really took place other than the vote on that.
Okay, then the third item on what I was looking for was who will do the borough administrators and the chief financial officer functions. I understand that Mrs. Witkowski is doing the borough administrator functions. and I wanted to know what the cost was.
At this time, that has not been discussed by the Finance Committee, so it's not, it's in the negotiation stage. It's
So,
not a fixed
Mrs.
amount.
Woodcow, we don't know what we're going to pay her?
At this point in time, no. I think we all have an idea of what it would be, but it hasn't been voted on or nor discussed by the council, just the the Personnel Committee. Right? I don't think the Finance Committee discussed this yet, Larry?
We had a meeting earlier today, but we discussed other things.
Okay, and the other, under that, included as part of that, the minutes at which that was discussed or decided.
I'm sorry, what?
The minutes including when that was discussed or will be decided.
They
What
don't
was
exist
discussed?
yet.
What you're going to pay
Has-
those functions.
It hasn't been discussed, Mr. Murphy, so therefore there are no minutes of a meeting that hasn't occurred yet.
It hasn't been discussed, so
What the mayor just advised you.
the council doesn't know what they're going to pay it?
Salary?
Yeah.
It was
No, it was
discussed
discussed
in
in
committee.
committee.
It has not been discussed at a council meeting. We don't keep minutes of committee meetings.
It was discussed in the committee of the
Committee.
Personnel Committee, but they haven't discussed it yet with the entire council, so there's no minutes from it.
All right, I'll be back, and hopefully it's not a snowy, cold night.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Seeing no one, I'm going to close the meeting to the public. We have, before I ask for a motion on the monthly reports, I'll ask the chief if he wants to give his report or say anything. No? Okay. Captain? Okay, on file with the Borough Clerk, the Ambulance Corps, Borough Administrator, Borough Engineer, Construction Department, calendar year 2013, DPW Fire Department, Board of Health, December 2013 reports, Hillsdale Library, Police, December 2013, Recreation, Stony Brook. Motion to receipt and file all reports.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? I guess roll call? Roll call.
Councilman Meyerson,
Yes.
Councilman Pizzella,
Yes.
Councilman DeGeis,
Yes.
Councilman Frank,
Yes.
Council President Kelly,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lewis.
Yes.
Okay, we're on last go-around. We'll start on this side. Larry?
Sure. Yeah, you can start in the middle once in a while, too.
Okay, well, no, okay, Councilman Disguise, and we'll work.
Got
You guys.
What did I say?
You guys.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll start off with some notes. The DPW, obviously, if there's any leaves out there, we did drive the town, but there were some snow piles still at cul-de-sacs and some streets. If there are leaves called, we'll get at them right away. As you know, the last couple of snowstorms we've had, they've been out there. I think they're doing an excellent job in the snow removal and salting. One thing we did notice this storm, and Susan, I think you're aware of it, I guess in the past there's been some agreements with some handicapped and senior citizens in town that the DPW would go after the storms and plow their driveways out. That is no longer a policy of the Hillsdale DPW.
Just so
But-
you know, that wasn't a policy of the
Okay,
council.
it was, okay.
I didn't know
We
about
just
that.
realized this as the storms are coming up, we're getting phone calls and phone calls. But I did talk to a couple of people, and if there are handicapped people in town or elderly that can't do their driveways, if you call the borough clerk, I'm gonna give her a list of plow contractors that will help you after the storms are over. It might be the next 24 hours, but they will get to your house and do those driveways if you can't do it. The other thing is, one thing that we noticed with the garbage schedule and on the DPW is, man, do people want those calendars? I can't tell you that. I think the office over there answered about 300 phone calls, and I think Sue answered about 500 phone calls. If there's any way we can rethink those calendars, it would be great. I think I realize how valuable they are after, sometimes you see it after I know I voted not to do the calendar, but there's a lot of people out there that aren't on our reverse 911 list, that don't use the internet, that don't read the newspapers, but still can call. And sometimes I think tonight is you see some bickering back and forth between the council members, this and that. We're all trying to do the best for the town. Sometimes it's hard. Change is scary. It's hard being said no to. But I know everybody sitting up here does have the best interests of Hillsdale in their hearts, and will continue to drive that forward in the next coming months. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, Chris?
Yes. Well, I was able to attend this past Saturday on behalf of the mayor and the council a Eagle Scout ceremony for two young men, Joseph Cohn and Daniel Ferrioli, and I just want to congratulate them. Each time I go to these events, it is just such an extraordinary feat that they accomplish. You know, the character, the tenacity, just the commitment they make and their families make to accomplishing these. What Daniel actually did was he did a lot of work over at the Sapienza Gardens and cleaned that up and evened it out and expanded it. And so come springtime, if anybody goes up there and sees that, that is from the handiwork of Daniel Ferrioli and his project, and Joseph Cohn did a project up at St. Joe's High School in Montvale. But again, congratulations to them and their families. You know, having young men like that, you know, accomplishing these goals is truly an extraordinary thing to see.
That's it. Larry?
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to say that 2 days ago I was on a flight from Salt Lake City, never got off the ground, and they canceled the flight because of a major snowstorm in the east. Yesterday, took a flight here, not 10 hours after the storm had ended, and the streets of Hillsdale were clean. And I know that DPW gets beaten up every now and then, leaf programs sometimes. The snow doesn't get off the ground, but in this particular case, in the 5th storm since the winter started, the DPW did a great job, because I got a chance. I never saw the snow fall in the east, and I never saw anything on the ground, and I live on a secondary street, and I just want to congratulate them on the job they did.
That's it? Tom?
Tonight's meeting got a little heated. For anybody who was watching, I apologize if it was a little rough. I'm just going to state that I don't believe what we're doing is political. I think we're doing what we feel is the best for the borough moving forward. Nothing's personal. What we're doing is trying to do the best for this borough. That's it. Just two other things. The fire department, if anybody out there is thinking of or knows somebody who's thinking of joining, we are definitely looking for people to join. It's an all-volunteer fire department, and you know, if you ever thought about it, come on down any Monday night at 7 o'clock and talk to us. We'd love to sign you up. The other thing is the Ladder Company is holding a Texas Hold'em on February 28th. It's one of their big fundraisers. It's at the firehouse. If anybody would like to join in, contact me and I'll get you a ticket. That's all I got. Thank you.
Captain Pinello?
Yeah, just wanted to report a little bit on the Environmental Commission. They had a meeting this evening where they were discussing new bylaws that they've been putting together, and also some discussion about some grants that may be available. Another thing that's really just really good is the Board of Education. Tonight they held a work session for parents at the George White School, and this is really to keep parents informed about the curriculum and other important issues. They had a work session on anxiety in kids, and it's really a part of an initiative by the Board of Ed to reach out to the community. And as liaison, I told them that I would really do my best in trying to inform the public as much as I can about the things that they're doing. They are trying to reach out to the community as much as possible and feel that they have to do a better job with outreach, and so I commend them for that. Also, recently went to the League of Municipalities for newly elected officials. And you know, I have to say it was very informative and very overwhelming, because you sit up here and you realize after going to something like that how much you don't know, and that, you know, there's people who may not have the same level of education as I do, but know a lot more about municipal government than I do. And you know, you sit up here and sometimes you say, well, you know, I'm kind of quiet and I should say something. And I'm hoping that this year, as I learn a little bit more about how to be a council member, that I will speak up a little bit more. And I'm, you know, again, really looking forward to working with everybody up here, and I hope that we all can put our differences aside and do what's right for the town. Thank you very much.
Good. Good.
A couple things. First, I didn't give it under the library, but I think I would like to mention a few things the library is doing. Our library is really a center of excellence for our town. Not only do they offer museum passes, which I've talked about at previous meetings, recently they've had a Tai Chi program to let people come in, and they run Tai Chi classes. They have yoga. They've just started or expanding a program called Makerspace, where anyone who has a library card can come in, and there's a room they're setting up, and they're actually expanding it. They got a small grant where people can use a button-making machine. They're bringing in some tools that I think are going to require a little bit of supervision if there are youngsters using them. But it's just a tremendous opportunity for kids who, in my opinion, don't get enough hands-on shop-type schoolwork, and this is a good way for them to get tactile training and to use their hands to build things. So it's a great program, and it's something that's going to continue to grow, and I hope that we can continue to fund it. Another good thing that they're doing is they've lined up with 35 other Buckles libraries, and they now offer a list that is too long for me to read of magazines that'll be available that you can download onto your phone or your iPad or your Android device. And I mean, some really great magazines, Motor Trend, Men's Health, Men's Fitness, Eating Well, you know, things I should be reading, 100 Decorating Items, American Spectator, Kiplinger's Letter is on it, Rolling Stone, tremendous list of magazines, and you don't have to check it out and return it. You download it, and it's yours to keep. So you access this through, you have to sign up for Zinio, and then you have to go through the library website to access all the titles. But I recommend anybody that save a lot of money on magazine subscriptions. It's great stuff.
What are you decorating?
Huh?
What are you decorating?
100 decorating ideas? I just need things to keep me busy. The other thing our library has on the website, which I kind of stumbled on, is they have a search site for both the Bergen Record and even Community Life, where you can go in there and find articles from the past, letters to the editor, whatever you might want to find. It's all searchable, and it's on our library website, which is great to have. It's a good tool. There's enough with the library. Second thing I want to mention is the American Legion sponsors scholarships to Boys State and Girls State each year, and it's usually, if we can get 3, 4, or 5 kids to go. It's a week-long program. I think the boys go to Rider College, the girls go to Georgian Court, I believe. Usually done in June. It's for kids that are finishing their junior year in high school, and they go down, and for 1 week they form local governments, county governments, state government. Kids get elected, they run for office. It's a tremendous experience. The kids that come back, and these kids 16, 17 years old, a lot of them have come back and spoken to us at the Legion and told us it's one of the best experiences they've had in their life to date. That's right. In fact, I think maybe after tonight we all ought to go down to Boys State and Girls State and do a little kumbaya. If anyone's interested, contact your guidance counselor. They have access to how to help you get through the application and the interview process. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Frank, I'm sure there's a magazine on that list for, what were you running around for your daughter for, with a goldfish or turtles or something?
No, it was a butterfly.
Butterflies,
we purchased a butterfly kit, and unfortunately we left them in the net too long. Oh, I hope she's not watching, because they died.
I wouldn't talk about it.
And I had to go buy new ones an hour away.
He went. He is the epitome of a good father, because I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have done it. Okay, a couple of things that I have. First, I want to thank Chris for taking my place at the Eagle Scout thing. You were a chum.
Very slushy out.
Yeah, I know. Leaf pickup and snow plowing. Our people are working as hard as they can. someone has to be first, someone has to be last, someone has to be in the middle. It's not fair of some residents, and it's only, thank goodness, a very few, that take their frustration out on our DPW men. They're working as hard as they can. Please, if you got a complaint, call me, call another councilman, but don't go out in the street and start yelling at our DPW people. It's not fair. That's not what they're being paid for. They are not the ones that determine that X street gets done first and Y street gets done last. They follow a route. Salt. I got a half a dozen calls from people on salt. Number one, we were instructed years ago that we have to reduce the amount of salt that we put on the streets. Just remember, everything that goes on the street goes into the sewer. Everything that goes into our storm sewers goes into the streams. Everything that goes in the streams goes in a reservoir. So you can see where I'm going. We use the minimum amount of salt that we can to maximize the effect of this salt, but without polluting our air and our water and our soil. So, you know, a little snow is not going to kill anyone. Please drive carefully. Obviously, if your street is snowy, you can't go on as fast on it as if it were dry and clear. Lastly, pertaining to snow, I ask you as the next chief of the fire department, I'm surprised Councilman Kelly didn't say, because this is usually his task, please, the life you save could be your own. Shovel out your hydrants, keep them clear so if there's a call, the fire department can visibly see them and hook up to them in a quick manner, because it could be your home, but it also could be one of your neighbors. So please, unless you physically can't, I'd appreciate it, I'm sure the fire department appreciates if you would shovel out the hydrants, make them clear, give it a little area around it so we can get at it. With that, I'll ask for a motion to go to close, and there, nope, then why is the chief here?
I have no idea.
What?
Nope.
Larry?
I thought that's why you were hanging around.
Oh, the
Talking personnel matter, no one's gotten a rice notice.
No.
Filling the vacancy.
It's still a,
We're not talking about an individual, we're talking about,
Position.
I thought that's why they were here also.
I thought you, I'm sorry.
fine, we'll do it.
Well, I'm speechless. I mean, he's been here for 3 hours, or 2 hours. You got here late. He was here.
Wow.
You want to go into executive session, discuss police
Larry,
department?
you're the,
That's why I thought they were here.
I did too. I'll look for a motion to go to close.
Motion.
Second.
second.
Eric, if you would read your,
Resolution 14042, provide for a meeting not open to the public in accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12, matters relating to the employment relationship, police department under B8.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, 2 minutes, and then we're gonna go to close. Thank you, everyone. We will go back.
The police chief and the police captain were also present during the conversation. Your Honor, it is, the chief has asked for the governing body to take a formal action to authorize a conditional offer of employment to
Travis Woods.
Travis Woods to serve as a probationary police officer with the Hillsdale Borough Police Department, effective
Tomorrow.
What date is effective?
tomorrow,
Tomorrow.
effective January 24th, 2014, at a salary in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, do I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Is there anything else that anyone wants to know? Any questions for the chief on that before I ask for a roll call? Okay, roll call.
Councilman Frank.
Yes.
Councilman Pizzella.
Yes.
Councilman DeGeis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lewis.
Yes.
Councilman Myerson.
Yes.
Council President Kelly.
Yes.
Chief,
Thank you.
got it? If you would, set up a police committee meeting as soon as possible to discuss some other things we went over, and maybe we'll start looking at that this process at that time for the next time, okay? If there anything else that...
Actually, no, I'm in the city tomorrow.
Okay, is there anything else for open that anyone wants? I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion.
This is empty, but we're in Tracy's box.
Second.
Doug, you can't talk to me, you got three. You got three.